Yes, we're live.
All right. Welcome, everyone. And we're buzzing through the folders, apparently. So I had to step out there for a minute and take some calls.
They're gonna do it. Line repair, her gas did.
I was at the fire station. Randy was having something replaced, some part. He knows what it is. We paid it.
Okay.
Christine, is this excavation intent, is this for the pit down the street here?
It's the same one every year. Yeah,
Okay,
a new one.
thank you.
Which one's so weird, I don't know, I can-
Hey, Audrey, there's still Ian's name on one of these. From Patrol PC.
Okay. You want a dog here for us? Patrol PC?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's because that transacted when he was here, and so it lagged.
oh, okay,
Joe's now in contact with them.
all right,
It's for the 3 printers, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Chris is trying to catch them and she's sending them back.
You still get things with $10.
So since you've already seen this, the charter communications / spectrum,
Yeah, so,
that's not part of the other thing you had.
no,
Oh,
that was the one I brought up 2 weeks ago, so we needed to come in, so this is. When we did the RFP, we already sent them a letter last year,
Mhm.
they failed to respond to almost everybody. New state law says now, if you don't respond within 60 days, we can assume you've got no coverage. Which basically makes the availability of the federal reviews and state reviews for those movies. So it's really trying to force them to jump in. So the question, so that's a second request letter.
Oh, that's,
They didn't respond to the first one.
huh.
and it becomes part of the analysis for the outfit that's been hired in the process. And the grant they got.
That probably affects any kind of bidding, if there's
It
bidding.
does, and, you know, because what it does, it basically shows that from a coverage standpoint, how we may be affected, and what federal money might be available as a result of that.
Right,
So this basically tells them they have to respond. Because of the law.
all right.
That's it, acclimate.
Morning, Randy. Yeah. Like we're sitting there. Welcome here.
Excuse me, gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Maria. She's our new administrative assistant in the police office.
Great.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Tom, Mike. I just totally lost your name.
Yeah, Chuck, another one.
I looked at Randy. This is Randy. Hi. And Chris is over here. Hi, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dressed for the occasion today.
Yeah.
Undercover, right?
I put the suit and tie. I was like, oh, this is so much more comfortable.
That's gonna get away with.
Oh, sorry.
We're not buying you with detective's badge.
Aw.
I also hear that you have more family involvement here.
I do. Yes,
Uh-huh.
I do. Yes, she's actually over there right now.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's wonderful. She's going to Central Maine Community College next year for criminal justice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So we have Sean's new boss in training. That's
Exactly.
great.
Yeah, somebody's got to keep them in mind. So.
Good one.
Yeah.
So intern is what I understand. So she's intern.
Yes, she is.
That's great.
Yeah, she's very excited. She loves it. You know, my father's the major in our jail back in my hometown. And my brother is a Chemung County sheriff. So it's been something, and my grandfather retired from corrections. So it's just kind of in her blood, and she's always wanted to do it since she was little. So I guess it's one of those things that's nice to see a kid who grew up saying they wanted to be something and actually be at that stage and still be following it. Pretty cool.
I'm still deciding.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
so-
I'm 37, I'm still.
Trying this out for a little while.
Obviously, we can rate the maturity level here.
Yeah, I think she's got me beat, but I can deal with that.
Wonderful. Well, nice to meet you.
Thank
Nice
you
to
very
meet
much. Nice to meet you guys
Welcome
too.
aboard.
Thank you.
We'll be next to the TV day, guys. Thanks, Sean.
Okay, I had a question here on the municipal association's training. It looks like we're billed for 3 trainings, and if I'm reading this right, 2 people attended and 1 did not. Usually they get a reimbursement. Hopefully this person contacted them within like 48 hours
I'll check.
of not attending.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be registrant 3. Like I said,
No, you had been looking at an older one, and I don't know if I sent the new one out to everybody, or not,
Oh.
but when I left you the other day, I went home and started doing the research, it's like, oh, we actually have that.
oh, okay.
So
That was nice.
I didn't, wasn't.
so Audrey has it, so that should be the one that gets our cover.
Wasn't looking to start trouble, was just taking an interest.
No, it's like a good question, it's like, okay, which one to send over?
Question for you, Chuck, are we getting any closer to the solution on the phone note? Guy?
I haven't checked with Joe to find out if the county's been over, I mentioned it, but I haven't followed up with it. I
All right.
mean, I think if Sean's working next door when we leave, I'll skip over and just say, hey, everybody done that call? Because until the county comes over and makes the IP address change, we can't get rid of that.
Okay. Right, I just,
We did provide the county with the new IP numbers. So I don't know what the,
Well, I know last time Ian said that to do the connectivity, they physically have to send their IT guy over here and he has to do it. Doesn't take long. He just has to be the one to do it on our side.
so it looks like you guys have already caught the waste management address issue here. It's going to Claudia today, so.
You on there.
Detail.
Well, I'm gonna do this one.
So we have the invoice for Wex. Apparently that's all been straightened out, whatever the issue.
yes, it's all up to date. So I was not granted an account by them, so I will reiterate to Sean and Joe that they need to maintain that system.
Ah. Randy, is the department, the fire department do any Wex? You've only got one gas operator and.
We're looking into it. We got the application. For the van's the only thing with gas one.
Does that get much use?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Basically got all the computers up and running. Brett's still working on a couple things.
Work in progress.
Yep.
Mhm. Pesky section. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I've already had that one.
Oh, I didn't see your
Yeah,
initials on it.
Oh, you're right.
So I trying to pass it
Good,
along.
no, good. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
You're on that one, you already did.
Yeah. I doubt we're gonna keep this audit on file from the county. Correct, I mean, there's no reason we don't keep.
It should be online, I would think.
Okay. 'Cause, I was just gonna say, if nobody's interested in the paper copy and it's just going in the trash, I take it home to read.
Oh, we'll go in the trash.
We don't keep a file on this, do we? Really?
There's others.
Oh, okay. No, I'll read here when I have time. I did not think we would.
Yeah, I see the Evans invoice in here for removing the beaver dam on Townhouse Road.
Yeah.
It dropped the water level probably 2 to 3 feet right in that area. On the other side dam.
I know that Mike Stevens, I contacted him, his mom said, get him in there now. So, Mike got out there and in a short period of time, he ended up getting 3 beavers when he contacted me. There may be more since then, but he did, send me a text the other day wanting the address of the town to send an invoice. So there'll be a follow-up bill on that. That there isn't a big market for beavers because we got our share.
Not anymore.
But then again, beaver has-
Could be a historic town hall, under
Should be the town's mascot.
Chuck correct that, county audits, are in the contract and the management letters are all online,
Okay,
so I don't see a reason for us to maintain them.
okay. Well, we do maintain on our website the audits for the town, correct? I thought we did.
Want to get the final version, drafts removed.
Yeah.
It gets choice of post as soon as we get it back.
So we've had those running for a number of
I
years.
think we've got either 3 or 4 years in there right now.
Okay, yeah, should have had 16, 17, 18.
We weren't getting PDFs of them.
I know that the present auditor who started working for us in 14. So I did a request of 14, 15.
All right, then I'll check that out, the old movie there.
Yeah, 'cause I requested that the other day.
4 there already.
I never put eyes on the 14, 15, so I asked him to send me whatever, the information. Good morning, ladies.
Is that okay? I want you to sit. I want you to sit. No, you're not on the camera. Only those, only they are. Oh, okay.
All right, looks like we're done with the folders pretty much. I'm just gonna quiz the board members here and Audrey as well on the zoning officer's request that there be any health officers. Email address, what's the, any thoughts?
Who would monitor it?
Presumably the health officer, but since it would be inside the office now. So there again is,
You can actually have it, you have to set it up on your computer. You'll be able to access that from your home computer
right,
with that address. I guess
Or your phone?
I'm really not understanding like what is the stuff that people miss.
Well, right now, I just go with anything of interest to you. As the health officer.
okay.
Would be easy enough to set one up and have it auto forward.
Right, I guess probably, maybe we should talk to the zoning officer who has some, is proposing that we do this to see what is the goal here. And maybe start from that angle and work it forward. All right, let's see, with that, I would love to jump into the agenda and start working through that, but I think I'm gonna go right down to the bottom of the page and get to some old business at first, if that's okay with the other board members, because we have some folks here, some
And
moderators.
she's just getting some emails right now, so
Oh,
you got 5 minutes.
okay,
Oh, come on, yourself.
okay. Yeah, so we'll get back to discussing town meeting and elections in a minute. So with that, I guess I'll go into the approval of minutes. And it looks like we've got 4 sets of minutes. And we have a regular session in January 26th. And I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Hold on a second.
All right, any discussion?
None.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
And Hal and I. Then we'll go on to the January 26th work session. I'll make a motion to approve.
Hold on a second.
Any discussion?
None.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
And Hal and I. January 26th, non-public. I'll make a motion to approve.
Hold on a second.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Hal and I. Then we had, let's see, January 29th, regular meeting minutes. I'll make a motion to approve.
Hold on a second.
Any discussion?
No.
All right, with that,
All right.
Hal and I. Yes, I will make a motion to approve the manifest in the amount of $27,684.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Hal and I. Signature folder, we had an intent to excavate, which is an annual form for an operation in town. We had intent to cut. That's been approved. Robertson Green audit management letter, we signed to for them will be provided with an audit, the final audits shortly. And that's what's being allowed with that letter. Charter Communications Spectrum letter, and we kind of addressed that earlier. My question to Mr. Fuller, who explained it. So that's kind of the functionary in the pursuit of broadband, which is part of the process of discovery. Review of the mail, Carroll County Financial Audit Supplement to the 2019 Annual Report. was provided. The fire department report, we typically see on a monthly basis. Our zoning officers report is in there. The executive council meeting wrap-up was in the review of mail. And we got a letter from the Governor Wentworth School District, and that is in relationship to ballot voting in town meetings. And we'll probably cover that in more detail when we get into discussions with others here today. There was nothing in the action folder. And we have an announcement, February 15th, the town offices will be closed for the holiday, and we will reschedule the meeting of February 16th to February 17th, the Wednesday at 9 a.m. on request of the town administrator. Does the board have a problem with that?
You said 15 to 17?
15th is the Monday, we're closed. The 16th to the 17th for our regular schedule. All right, I'll make a motion to move the meeting to the 17th.
For a second.
All in favor?
All right.
The hell and I. It is done. Are you all set, Susan?
Sure.
Okay, why don't we hold off with all everything else, and I guess we'll revisit the discussion phase of the ballot voting, town meeting dates. So with that, I will say that the school has followed up with an official statement. There's a few pages here, so I'm not going to read through it. It's pretty much everything we covered the other day with a couple of members of the school board. Few things were cleared up, that the April 15th deadline for an agreement with the teachers union will not be affected, and there's no evidence, there's no negative effects should we choose to move any part of our electoral process. Yes, they do say they would like us to hold things in March, but as far as the ballot voting, but their attorney has weighed in. There doesn't seem to be any real effect outside of postponing the appointment of whoever gets elected. So that's the short version. I don't know if we might want to post this online. I think we should on our website, because just to be informative. If you gentlemen think that's appropriate, then
We can do that.
okay.
Chris, could you PDF that and send that to us, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, then with that, I don't know exactly I didn't know you were coming, so maybe I'll just go to you and say, is there something you wanted to add to the discussion?
No, I don't think it's bad. I think, there's in some ways good news in the documents we've gotten from the school district that whatever we decide to do might make people uncomfortable for a little bit, but it isn't gonna cause any, major calamities for the school district, so.
Right.
I think that's a relief for everybody here.
Oh, yeah. And vetting that was really the biggest thing, to make sure that whatever we decide to do, it's not going to have a detrimental effect on the district and so forth. So, what else? Find my notes.
I think we did, in the meeting minutes, we had voted to hold both meetings in May, pending input on the regional school district information, which we asked for.
Right, and as part of some of the things I did after meeting with the school board members who came in and shared some concerns, is I did follow up a little on the SB2 bill, the executive order, just how this played out with those who were involved, and asked some questions out there. So what I did is I reached out to Tim Eldridge to ask for a copy of the contractual language for the teachers, contract, and Mr. Eldridge said on Friday that they were going to be meeting as a school board on Saturday. So from that, I didn't receive that information, which was fine, because we got an official communication which covered everything I needed to know in that pursuit. So that took away a whole bunch of my notes to worry about things. But I did reach out to the Secretary of State's office and ask some questions. I talked to Deputy Secretary of State Dave Scanlon, and he kind of filled me in on the legislative portion of the bills, what it was intended for, which is what we're discussing, and that was the target of it. To follow up on that, I contacted Deputy Scanlon gave me a number at the AG's office, the Attorney General's office, who was kind of involved in this as well. That's Nicholas Chong Yang. I spoke with Mr. Chong Yang, and he didn't weigh in on the process because they don't get involved in the minutia of how towns process warrants and meetings and that. So he just kind of gave the overview of the bill. And I followed out with our district, District 3, Senator Jeb Bradley, who's been pretty much in office for a really long time and knows his way around the State House, and is a co-sponsor of SB2. So I spoke with Mr. Bradley, who again, emphasized there that this is what we were considering was the actual why this bill was put there. And he said that the NHMA item that came out, and Susan, you followed it, that was kind of their narrative of how this is to be processed. Senator Bradley stated that pretty much NHMA took the lead on this crafting of the bill, and what information they were putting forward is more or less what the committee had adopted. So if you're looking for an understanding of the bill, I would think that what NHMA sent out would be the predominant definition of defining. If you wanted the questions they answered, they're the folks that probably are best suited to answer it, and they did have that document they sent out kind of explaining things. So with that, I think that covered everything that I could find, and the rest of it we passed over quite a bit. This is the fourth time we've met to discuss this, so I think the debate has really taken place, and things have really been distilled down, and I don't think we're going to make everybody happy no matter what we decide. I just don't think there's a one size fits all to the issue. So with that, anybody else want to weigh in? Because if there isn't different information coming forward that's looking to change the motion and vote that took place, I don't really think that I would introduce that again. I would just let the motion stand. So to the board members, anybody else?
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm in agreement with you. I've looked at this long and hard and thought up and down on this, and I think the responsible thing, I was going for March, but I voted with you guys when we had that meeting, the second meeting. I was leaning towards March. After seeing everything that's come out, even yesterday, Conway Town Hall has closed down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think responsible. I can't in good conscience keep it in March. The safety aspect of it.
Well, I agree. I mean, I voted for March, but I stated kind of some frivolous reasoning there. The undertone that I put out is just, I really support the safety aspect. I think May is good for the consistency of our voting, with Tuesday followed by the Saturday. I think the open air options that may present itself due to weather is a big thing, and that maybe there's things we can do outside if it came to that. I think it gives us more options, and I'm always a person who likes to have options. And the consistency and the opportunity to vote, or election integrity, I think it all plays in, but the primary driver is the safety considerations for our community and the demographic. We've got a lot of people that are active in our town that are over 65, have health conditions, and I think this is the best option for everyone, personally. So
There's one other thing. Going with Madison, I'd like to send a letter to the school asking, is there anything we can do? I know Deanna reached out to them before the November election, correct? Maybe we should just put a letter together, asking if there's anything we can do. Thanking them also for the switching the times around. you know,
So
waves around. That's what anything we do in, where there's the COVID going on, cleaning up after or before, what we have to do, precautions we gotta take. Is there anything extra that we don't know about on a normal election?
Yeah, I think that makes, that's a good point. First off, I, I think there may be a disruption to their school day, so we first have to ask permission if we can use the school for these dates, and or if there's a possibility we can be outside. Oh,
Yeah.
Deanna,
When we had our first meeting, I emailed Patty Morrissey, the principal, and she forwarded it, and I haven't heard a response yet about
okay.
those dates. But I do know March 9th, they were just gonna have as a remote learning day, so that
Oh.
we could have the school.
Okay, well, I guess that would be number one, to follow up and see if we could utilize the school. Certainly thank them for responding to us in a timely fashion on this issue. And I think something to the effect of explaining our reasoning, why we're doing this, and asking, for their support. And we understand we're disrupting things a little bit for them. But in light of what's taking place, hopefully they can understand the situation, and that will be okay with them. To Tom's point, we probably should ask if there is something we could or should do with them. If there's a cleanup, disinfectant, sanitization of the facility once we're done on both of these dates, should we utilize the facility? So there's a whole host of things I think we could probably craft here to go out to the school.
The town administrator or?
I think this might be a joint effort, I guess, just to make sure we get all the points across and do it nicely. And so we don't want to burn a bridge here. We know we're not exactly doing what some folks want. We don't want to, we want to show our appreciation for their tolerance of the situation. All right, so with that, is anyone else have anything else they'd like to share, or there's any concerns, considerations going forward?
So May 11th and
15.
right?
I
11
believe
and
those are the
15,
dates,
yes.
11th and 15th, and we'll have to put out a couple
Let
of,
people know.
right, well, one of the things is we need to let that be known throughout the community ASAP.
Newspaper?
So newspapers, I also, the executive order 83 does not say public hearing, but SB2 bill does have a public hearing component in there. So as much as it pains me to have a public hearing, to have people come in when the decision is made, because they'll show up to say, we have our point of view, and it's like, it's not going to change anything. This is a done deal. That said, I think we should hold the public hearing. I think we should put a notice in the paper. But I think the way we word that notice is going to be important to say, this is a public hearing to inform the public that the decision has been made to
No
move this.
discussion.
So people don't show up thinking, can I change your position on this? Because I know that can probably rub people the wrong way. I came all the way out here to express my opinion, and it doesn't matter. And it's like, yeah, unfortunately, in this case, that would be true.
How do you do public hearings? Like, do you do that remotely and give people call in?
Yeah, in fact, Audrey just facilitated one for the budget committee, and ran the screen up there and allowed comments, people can click on and flag up. And
Yeah.
so that's, I guess, what we have to do. I didn't see in the public hearing portion, it didn't give a timeline. Like sometimes in the ZBA, it's 5 days, say, other things are 10 days, some things should be 15 days. So,
ASAP.
well, I think that, I saw something that would make me think 15 days might be the thing, but in this case, I would be willing to say 10 clean days. That is to say that you make your announcement, and then you have to post in the newspaper, and then give it 10 days after the newspaper posting. The quickest newspaper out there to get it in would probably be the Conway Sun-Times, and we should be able to do that for a Saturday posting to try and reach, I think it reaches the most people. And I would follow up with one in the Independent, because this is such an important issue. But as long as we had the initial posting on Saturday, I would count 11 days forward, and any time after that, we could have a date. And I think we should try to settle on that before we leave today.
We could put it on the website as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, any way we can communicate it. I know that there's social media sites in town that are frequented, and I'm sure somebody would probably reach out there and post something and let the discussions begin. So what is this Saturday's date? Oh, Christine, did you have something? I'm sorry.
So are we saying 11 days prior to the original March election
No.
date?
No, we're saying 11 days from the advertising hitting the newspaper to when we're going to hold a public hearing at a minimum.
For the
So,
public hearing?
right, the public hearing needs a notice, a buffer in there. You can't just,
Which needs to happen before the original.
right, we're gonna do
Would you want to
that.
pick that date right now? where you're
I would
on
like
board?
to, so,
If it was posted in the newspaper for this Saturday, it would align, I think, 11 days to the next BOS meeting.
Oh.
That's handy.
Andy?
so let's see.
Because we put it off for that Wednesday.
That's the 16th, I'm just showing you it's the 17th.
There you go.
So the 17th, if we get it in the newspaper tomorrow, then it's the 17th,
Right.
12 days from now.
I would like some consideration on this. Not everybody can participate during the daytime hours, though. I would say if we have it on the 17th, maybe it would be appropriate to do this, at 6 p.m. or something, 5 or 6, allow people to get home from work, to have a greater participation. That's just the thought thrown out. I know it's an inconvenience for everybody else here, but again, I think this is a really big issue, and I think we should try to do the best we can to reach out to the public. So, any thoughts?
What about if we move Board of Selectmen time up? Until 2, and then we're here, for whatever time we get the public hearing? Or do you want to keep it at 9, be consistent? I don't know.
Well, a lot of the staff doesn't need to be at the second meeting, but works during the day. And since we have the building closed, that's why we moved to this time slot, was for the convenience of staffing. So, I mean, I'm open to anything.
I'd like to keep it at
9, okay, I'll support 9, and then a later date for the public hearing to be determined. I'll leave that to you guys to figure out what
9,
works.
5 or 6, let's do it right now.
Okay,
We just did the budget one at 5:15, and that worked.
okay,
I would say use the same time, 5 o'clock to 5:15, or something like that, as the time for this.
Tom, any,
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
okay, well, Chuck, why don't you pick a number, 5, 6,
5:15.
5:15, okay, we'll convene at 5 p.m. with the hearing to start no earlier than 5:15, how about
Works, what was the date?
that? February 17th,
17th, okay.
and that will be a motion, I make that motion, I have a second.
Here, get a second floor.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
The hell and I. Christine, did you have something, a question?
If something wants to go on the paper for tomorrow, it needs to go in by 11 a.m. today.
Oh,
You got
boy,
an hour,
what's that?
you got an hour.
We'll have to take a break in between to tend to that then.
Do you want
Let's-
it tomorrow or Saturday?
Saturday would be ideal, I think. I think more people get that.
I think we're okay for Saturday. He said tomorrow, but I think he means Saturday.
Yes, I'm sorry if I
All right,
misspoke.
I'll write ASAP.
Okay, with that, anything else from you, Susan?
No, no, good,
Okay.
so we'll just proceed like we usually do in May, in March.
Yeah.
All right, great.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thanks, everybody,
Thank you.
take care.
All right, then, let's see. Randy, I know you had asked for a non-public.
Yep.
Is this something that you think is gonna take a lot of time?
Nope,
Okay,
You have a public and a
I have
non-public,
a
right?
public as well, too.
okay.
On the new business.
Dave, I'm just gonna ask you, Mr. Strauss, Budget Committee Chair, was this something you came in specifically for, or?
Oh, if you want me to come in and go over this.
Great, so you didn't need our attention for an issue.
Nope, good, thanks.
All righty. So since we've kind of broken out of the mix here, Audrey, how do you feel about coming back for town, for administrator's comment, working forward after we deal with Randy's issue, since he's been sitting
I'm
here
fine.
patiently for about an hour?
Okay.
Okay. All right, Randy, why don't, you guys?
Yeah, I'm good. Let's do the public piece of it, then we'll do the non-public.
Okay. Take it away, chief.
Okay, public things.
Yes.
I have your list of ambulance calls. You wanted to compare it to actions with 244 Highway.
Okay.
And I got the quote for the Zoll
Oh,
AEDs.
yeah.
The other issue is, I was trying to get hold of reverse 911 to notify residents of when vaccines are available. Reason I couldn't get hold, because they're no longer in existence, the state changed it to code red. And we don't have an account. I thought we had one with reverse 911 where Chief Butts and myself were authorized. It didn't carry over. We had to start a whole new application process, so I get that stuff here. And they did say that is a legitimate use to use it for. So going forward, once we get an account set up, they'll give me a little training. And then we can use this code red to notify residents of when the next vaccines come up, who's available or who's considered in that group.
Okay, so on that, probably the police department, Joe Duchesne should probably be able to take the place of what Chief Butts was doing. And is there anybody else that should have that? Like, is that something the town here at the office should be involved in as well?
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't know if it was just first responder level, the chief.
Don't we have something on our website right now with code red? It says code red right on the website. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm just wondering how that got there when I didn't know anything about it, so I talked to these people. Somebody knew about it.
Okay.
But anyway, the paperwork they sent, they said you have a non-emergency access, emergency access, and they shouldn't be the same person. Why, I don't know. It makes sense to be the same person. And then you have a primary contact form.
Okay.
So, my opinion, the primary contact should be the selectman's office.
Right.
Whether it's Audrey or one of you, whatever.
Audrey would probably be the wise.
Then your emergency access, you can have two, which you would think would be the police chief and the fire chief. And a non-emergency access, you can have two.
Okay.
All I can think of is if you want to put same name, but reverse the order.
Well, the non-emergency access is probably should be the town administrator maybe again. So
Okay.
that would be the contact person. And you said that they don't want the same person on some forms. But they didn't say you couldn't, right?
No, you can, but I don't know why you can't, put it that way, because in a small town like this, it's either the police chief or the fire chief, emergency management director, whatever, is gonna be in charge of the emergency one.
Right, and that was actually where I was going, because when you have hazardous mitigation in the emergency operations, that's you, and you're the fire chief. So I would say, I would put you down on the forms that you think would be best suited. And they'll just have to understand that when you've got one person wearing all the hats, you're getting that name to repeat. So,
Each form, the emergency numbers, you have 4 positions you can put names in, whereas the contact person only has 1.
okay. Yeah, it makes sense to go through the town office and Audrey for the one.
So I would like to get these filled out and signed and, can you fax them to them? Email them to them,
Okay.
mail or email, so, cause the sooner we get them in, the sooner they'll give me the training and, well, whoever's on it's gonna get trained, not just me, but.
Yeah, well, I think we should be able to sign those up
Yeah.
here in the meeting today, right? So,
Good.
and then you can fill out the appropriate names.
Yeah, I mean, I agree on Audrey's primary contact, Randy PD is emergency contact, and then the other one, I'm good with Audrey and somebody else.
Yeah, I'll probably the chief, right? Tom,
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, they're good.
Because
No worries.
if you put Aubrey as the, non-emergency, I could always come in and sit down with her, go over what we need, because
exactly.
I'm not considering this
vaccine as an emergency. It's like a non-emergency,
Right,
you can do it like a day or two ahead of time, put the message out. And you can access everyone in Effingham. The training will explain all that. You know, town-wide, section of the town, specific area.
But yeah, we'll sign those up here. You can Audrey can fill in the appropriate names, I should think, and then we'll get that out, or we, not us.
And if you
Our
read,
staff is
if
great.
you read the code red thing, you see that a person can sign up on their cell phone. So they, you know, they work during the day, so if we get say a propane leak right out here on 25, we put it out on, anyone who's traveling home will know, can't go that way.
Huh.
But they have to sign up, we can't sign them up.
Okay,
But we can designate like townwide, which would be all the 539 numbers or whatever.
Who is our primary point of contact on file with DESC?
Who is that primary contact? I don't think we have one. I think it'd be the selectmen.
Okay.
We don't have a file with them, so they have nothing. So we
This
could
is brand new, right?
just be start fresh. Because they didn't transfer the reverse 911 stuff over.
all righty then. Anything else in the public session?
Non-public, I don't think so.
Okay,
That was about it for non.
You want to go to non-public quickly?
I think since the chief is so patiently waited here all morning, it would probably be, you know, nice for him.
I'll hand you this one. That's the Zoll quote.
Oh, yeah, okay, let's look at that.
I need a motion to go into non-public, please.
He takes times, we get 3 times that day.
Okay. Well, all right, we'll look at that.
And I also found out that our ambulance or our contract, you might want to take a look at their calls, because I was told yesterday when I had a meeting over there, that they go to a call, and they request like a paramedic, and they send a paramedic, they come to the 2 calls.
Huh,
So they can be charging us 2 calls for 1.
interesting, okay, that's a very interesting point.
Yeah.
All right, the Zoll item, I want to look at this real quick before we go into non-public. The defibrillators here, it looks like the unit itself costs $2,618.55. The cable adapters, discounted price $110.40. The rechargeable lithium battery pack complete with a 5.8 AH capacity is $370.50 each. CPR stat pads, which would be the CPR electrodes, 8 pair in a case. Those are $436.80, not cheap.
What was that number?
$436.80. And there are what, 4 leads that go on a patient with this at a time?
One of those are probably 4 leads. Cardiac monitor defibrillator, you have, well, 12 leads, but you have 10 leads, basically.
Okay.
And
And
there's
then
a pack, you know?
8 pairs in a case. I assume a pair is 2. Let's see, pediatric pads, function electrodes designed for use with AED plus. Recognized pads. It just states that their shelf life of 24 months. 1 pair is $74.10. So,
So if you add that up for a complete unit,
well, actually, it goes on to page 2. I'm sorry, Chuck. It also has it looks like AED plus with AED cover LED screen. So is this a separate,
It's 2 separate bids, I believe.
two different units?
One is with the EKG screen, and the other one's without.
She might not know
which
that.
we had talked about, I believe.
It's,
Paramedics would screen.
so look, it's almost double the price, one to the other, not quite double.
Mhm.
And then the batteries are a quantity of 10, which storage sleeves, so this is a type 123 lithium battery, so those are not rechargeables, I'm figuring.
No.
$58.50. And then the CPR stat pads, one pair, $58.50. The PD pads, one pair is $74.10. The total price for, it's including 2 units, is $5,178. So I think we'll have to distill this and come up with the prices and supplies that we would want to meet for these.
And we had said, what, 2 and 2, the day we were over at the ambulance station? 2 with screen, 2 without, or what number are we looking at, do we know?
That's
I didn't think we put a number on. But,
Okay, that's good.
right.
No one needs to come up with a number then.
With that, though, we have some older units that are in service that predate your taking over as chief,
Yeah.
which puts these things well over 10 years old.
Yep.
So we've got a supply to probably replace units, I'm assuming, right?
You know, these ones in here, the library, whatever, you can replace the same thing for a state bid, which is only $850.
Okay.
You don't need the EKG on these ones that are out here. EKG would be mostly for, I'd say, advanced EMTs, because they can learn how to read rhythms, for basic EMTs.
Okay.
So AMTs and paramedics would need the AED or the EKG screen.
Right, the more advanced unit. So then I'm figuring we carry these basic ones in the cruisers and in the 2 facilities, the library and here.
Mhm.
So I guess we need a running list of how many of those should be replaced, or if we only have 2 but 3 cruises, we need to just tally those up. And then if there are ones going on your trucks, you want the advanced model of the 2. Well, do you?
I thought we had talked about adding it, letting people have it, that way whoever has it.
Well, that was, but, well, there's some that go on the trucks too, and I was getting to that third layer.
Oh, okay.
So if we distilled how many units might go on the various trucks, because you have the rescue truck, the mini pumper, I don't know if you'd want it on the big pumper truck, probably not, and then on the fire truck, I don't know.
Right now, we have one on engine 1 and engine 3.
Okay,
The cardiac monitor defibrillator, which is supposed to come off as of yesterday because of FDA, was on the rescue.
okay,
So we have basic ones on engine 1 and engine 3, which are fairly new. Engine 3, I think we just bought last year, the year before.
so would this more advanced model be the one to go on the rescue unit?
Yep.
Okay, so.
If we don't have the cardiac monitor defibrillator, yeah.
So we need one of these models,
Mhm.
and we probably have a tally you can make of the other models. Now that brings up to where Chuck just had us. What about I'll call them like the roving models here, where you have members such as yourself who can have this unit with the mountain in the middle of our town, point to the compass if we have, your deputy chief on one side of town, you on another, maybe another member who works as an EMT or something, somebody who could utilize these units. I guess a running tally of how many and what model would be appropriate for that use. Do you think you could kind of get a number for us on that? Like even today? I mean, I don't think you got more time than I shouldn't say today. But if you could put together a list of what you think you should have for supplies, charges, and the models, that would be very helpful, because I just spoke with Heather Malone yesterday at the USDA, and she walked me through the process of forms that I'll need to put together for the grant to go along with this. And I did get that we didn't have to buy the one big unit. We can put in for this kind of stuff. So if you can work with me to get me all of what this is and the cost, I need to get that in by April 16th for the grant. And the one thing I've got going in my favor this time is it's not as extensive as a bridge. And a lot of the forms now make sense to me. You know how that goes, right? So yeah, if you, we'll take copies of this, I guess, so that we can.
Yeah, so we can see it.
Yeah,
Yep.
but if you could give us a breakdown of what you want, for, you know, in all this list. And we'll see if we can't,
Okay.
because I'll tell you what, I mean, me personally, because the board didn't support the warrant article for this unit originally, because we were looking at one unit, I think, and that we were a little skeptical from some of the input we had heard. And, it was the price tag at the time. Me personally, my position would totally change if, with this kind of configuration, and that we were looking at a match of 55% from the government. I mean, that makes this look like a much more enticing deal from where I'm sitting, and I would probably endorse it. And I know it's too late for the budget committee and all, but when it got to the floor of town meeting, I'm pretty sure I'm comfortable.
Yeah, and I think, since we had that meeting with the ambulance folks,
Yeah.
kind of got a different perspective on it, I'm in agreement with you on that, I support this model.
Yeah, after the meeting, like Chuck was just saying up there, it's very informative, I thought.
Yeah, and thanks to Action Ambulance and their staff for walking us through and taking the time to really educate those of us who don't live the life and know how all that works. So that was great. Yeah, we'll just make some copies here before you leave, and then maybe we can get that information together and give it some thought.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to happen today. So I apologize.
Once we know the number of quote unquote units, I think in your schedule when you send it in.
Yeah.
If it's itemized like that, you're gonna take each item times the number.
Oh, yeah.
of units to be able to give them the full thing.
Oh, yeah, I'll give them an absolute breakdown, quantity, price, each item, just basically like you presented it here, and beef up the quantities. And we'll see how we make out.
The other thought I had was, if you're gonna go with the EKG stream, we should get those just for the ones who can read them.
Yeah,
Like me, why don't you just give me a regular AED like we got in $850 compared to
yeah, and that's the other thing, if you have the state bid
Yep.
thing, if you could provide that too for paperwork, because I'll need to do that. What's
I
that?
gave Chuck this state bid for,
Oh, okay,
because you're gonna
Which I
get,
gave you Grace.
give it raise.
Yeah.
CIP,
Yeah, well, she was doing some research with Randy last fall, we got it in the library and whatever, and Randy provided me the doc.
I thought you were getting one for the police, the third cruiser.
We talked about that too.
Yeah, that's what that information was
But I
for.
think, and she'd also asked a question on the whole battery thing and whatever, so I think that was around that discussion when you gave it to her, but I'll find it.
Right, I'll see if I can get another one.
and that's a good question that you just prompts a question for me on the batteries. These batteries, going with a comment you made when we were in the meeting, don't last that long. These batteries here on the lesser unit, the lowest level unit, type 1, 2, 3 lithium batteries, is that the batteries you're talking about? Are those,
Batteries in these now come 7 years.
okay,
7-year battery for the normal AEDs. I was told these come with, you get an extra battery, but they have, they only take like 500 charges, so they get a memory. But the battery on it gives you a level indicator. So if you're not down, don't charge it, because the more you
Right.
charge it, the less light you get out of it. So, because on the one we have now, we had 3 batteries, and we change them out monthly. Well, I was told, the way we use it, we have it sitting there plugged in, the thing's always basically charged. There's no need to change it if you get a new one. Because the one we have now is like 15 years old, so it doesn't have that window, that doesn't have the memory, you can charge as much as you want. The new ones have a memory, you can only charge like 500 times.
Huh.
So it has, like I said, a window indicator, so if it doesn't need charging, don't do it. The battery will last longer.
So on the state bid sheet, there were batteries. would the battery off the state bid sheet fit the lower end models we're talking here, or?
I doubt it, two different
Okay,
companies.
That's what I'm asking.
One's a D-shift deck and one's a Zoll.
Okay, you're right.
Randy, do you know, what do you do with the old ones now? They can't be refurbished or recalibrated or what?
And I have to look into, talking about the AEDs in here. This was fairly new, so it shouldn't have a problem.
But we have any that are expired.
There's no expiration, the batteries have expired, but the unit itself,
They'll never expire?
well, sometime, at some point, USDA might not recognize them, just like they did with ours, I don't know.
So, what about, because the charging battery seems to be the higher price Zoll. The lower price Zoll seems to be a lithium battery, which is not rechargeable, or it is? Because it doesn't
I
seem
would say
to,
lithium, well, they go up to rechargeable lithiums,
right, but it doesn't show a charger.
right, so probably not, because the one in the room over it, you cannot recharge that battery.
Okay,
But like I said, it's a 7-year battery.
all right, and we don't know if this is the same battery style, 7 year,
I would say no, because different company.
okay. All right, yeah, so there's some questions here, and I guess, you know, I would probably look for you to fill in the blanks, like Tom's saying, on which units we might want to replace because of age. And if you have a preference to these items having the batteries that are rechargeable versus replacements, if you think there's a value in any of that. So, again, we'll take your recommendations for what you think we ought to purchase, for the amount of units we should have, and all the accompanying items that go with a unit. And then we'll package it up and do the USDA. And if Chuck, you have access to the state bid material,
I'll find it.
we can put that forward, and then we can, hopefully you can discern whether the state bid unit is what you would want, or if you'd want the Zoll unit. I wonder if compatibility in anything is a factor, you know. But,
Right, that's, I'm not sure. I guess
okay,
it'd be not compatible, but like they said, that actually come with these adapters.
Yeah.
So you can use the same pads on a different model.
all right, and then we'd have to get the adapter prices for
Yep.
that, because we put it all in. All right, so,
I did go to Action yesterday, and they are gonna go with the Zoll, because Zoll came through.
oh, all right,
So they're sticking with Zoll, so we have Zoll stuff.
I always feel like I'm asking you to do more, probably because I'm always asking you to do more. So could you do more and provide all that information, like I said, and then we'll get this thing packaged up for the USDA?
The only AED I can see replacing would be the one in the chief's vehicle, because that was an old one.
Yep,
It's got those 1, 2, 3 batteries. That was, I don't know, when that was purchased, like 2002, 2005, something like
I wonder if you could access that unit and see what kind of life it has to those batteries, and were those the originals, or have they been
that.
replaced?
I've already replaced the batteries twice in that thing.
Ah, okay, you know that, okay.
Since I've been chief, before that, I don't know. And it's supposed to be kept at 55 degrees, so if they get it in the trunk sitting outside,
Yeah.
it's gonna kill the batteries fast.
So is there a real benefit to having them in the police cruisers then?
Only if you get on scene first.
Okay. I mean, I know we have one officer that has, you know, the whole full boat training through the military. I don't know if our other officers in general would make use of something like this.
Basically, anybody can use it to touch right through it.
Right.
And the studies out there show that you get more chance of being sued if it's there and you don't use it, than if it's there and you use it.
Okay.
Because like I said, watch it through it.
Well, I guess on that one, I will make a note to reach out to Joe Duchesne and get input from the police department about having them in the cruisers. Then maybe that's the,
It'll work.
okay. And then whatever you put together, if you're inclusive of the police cruisers, we can subtract if necessary. Super.
So I know one of the police cruisers was bought after I became chief, the other one was not. One at the library was bought afterwards, one here was bought afterwards. 2 in the Indianville afterwards, so the oldest one is the one in the chief's car, and it's a Zoll. All the others we have is D50.
Okay.
Should we be changing everything else to the same model, so it's consistent?
Well, that's what my question was, like going with the state bid stuff, should we be doing that, or should we stay consistent with the lower price unit here? And that's my question to Randy, is if you look at the state unit that's listed on the bid price, and is that really the way to go, or should we stay consistent, like Chuck says, with the Zolls?
Let me call the state and get a list, because there's more than 8 defib tech on that list. I believe Zoll's on that list as well.
Oh, all right.
And let's see what models they have on it. I know they won't have the EKG one on it, because I already asked the state about that.
All right. Well, once again, more.
Yeah.
All right.
More is less.
More is less work for me, more work for
What I
you.
think is, here is the list of water supplies that RCV did back in 2004.
Water supply.
Yeah, we talk about the different ponds.
Oh,
Is it dry hydrants in ponds, or?
Or just a pond could be used as a water source.
Oh, okay.
So it's up to us if we want to put a dry hydrant or just use it.
right, yeah. Possible dry hydrant. So are you thinking we should be looking at installing more?
Well, that was you wanted to know about different water places in town.
Right. Okay,
Because like I said, the only way the town's ISO is gonna lower is if we put in a water supply system. But that's gonna consist of your cisterns, dry hydrants, whatever.
okay.
So if we had properly, if we could, and we had the water, and we put dry hydrants around town in the right locations, would that actually reduce the ISO rate?
Yes. Like I said, I think we should have somebody from ISO come out, drive around the town with that. Because I'm quite sure you have to have at least 30,000 gallons of water to be considered
Okay.
a legitimate supply.
Okay, yeah, I guess this is be an ongoing thing to kind of, in discovery, to find out if we have some really good candidates to adding dry hydrants. And then, of course, we can talk to Ron Evans on, cost of putting them in once we discern where we might want to add these things. You mind, I will make copies of this and get this back to you?
Yep.
I'll throw it in your folder when we're done.
Yep.
All right, do you need this back to go work from, or?
I can make copies.
Okay, all right.
Randy, real quick. I just want, how many dry hydrants do we have in town, you know?
Five.
Are they all working?
Yes,
Okay.
the one on Elm Street is off and on, but it worked the last time we tested it in October.
Okay.
My understanding is Stevens Road one was not.
Worked.
Oh, it works?
Yeah, we had a brush fire down there, I think, November. I hooked up with Engine 3, no problems.
Really? Now, wasn't there points in time when you tested it, it didn't function?
Because the water was low. 'Cause
Okay,
the strainer, so it's sitting flat, sits up. So when the water gets low, you're gonna create air. Because the strainer got the holes all the way around.
Hmm.
Which is good and it's bad. I mean, the bottom should have like no holes, so you don't suck up the dirt.
okay. So, would it be beneficial to get this at a different angle? And would there be a need to maybe dig down a little deeper there to pond it a bit?
Yeah, it would help.
Okay,
Like I said, it was working in November.
To Randy's point, should we try and get the guy out here, the ISO guy, to take a ride around, because he can give us coaching on that too.
yeah, I guess that it certainly wouldn't hurt. I didn't know if we wanted to do a little in-house evaluation before bringing him out first, or jump right into bringing that individual out. I don't know personally what's the best.
I actually think the discovery process of having them here and being able to go around town with them would be very enlightening.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
All right. Who wants to make contact? Is that in your wheelhouse, or should somebody here be doing
Do you have numbers for any of that?
Yep.
You could.
it? Okay. You busy?
No.
Nice. And, we'll make some copies and who was the contact again, Randy, for this? How did you phrase that?
For
The,
water supply,
yeah,
ISO,
ISO,
Yeah.
okay.
they don't need to come out to show us would be a good spot. And if that water source would be rated.
All right.
I mean, that could be one of those things involved with like the CIP where we can say we want to allocate to do a couple of years or something like that.
Sure.
For the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
Better shape all the way around.
Definitely. And, is this to contact people down here for ISO, or is this just the,
It's probably the company that did that.
that's what I figured, yeah. So do you have that contact information that you could get to Tom?
Yeah.
To reach out to ISO, okay. All right, that's an in process then. Okay, then I guess if you are ready, we'll go into the non-public.
Yeah.
All right, and that was under 91 AC. Matters which if discussed in public would likely be adversely affect a reputation. Is that the one you want to go under, Randy?
Yes.
All right. I will make a motion to enter into non-public to, under 91, RSA 91A-A:3, Roman 2, subparagraph C. And with that, I will look for a second.
Fuller second.
Mr. Fuller seconds. All in favor?
All right.
Cahill and I, with that, why don't we, so we didn't.
So you have to do both, you have to unmute and record.
So with that, we must have missed the point from recording that we took the vote to enter back into public session, and we voted not to seal the minutes, just as a recap. And I think that's it. Minor discussion about the Zoll products that we would need, amount of AEDs, the type of AEDs, and the various pads and or electrical leads, pads going on the paddles, the leads being the monitoring portion, to which Chief Burbank will be working on to help provide the board insight as to what to apply for the grant for. Oh, there you go.
Good, how are you guys?
Not too bad, good timing. How do you feel about AED defibrillators in the cruises?
I have no problem with it. I think it'd be a good idea, if, you know, if we could keep up with the proper training and all that, yeah.
Okay. The chief assures us that it's paint by numbers as it's on the instructions.
Yeah, they're
Anybody-
fairly simple. Yeah.
We're led to believe there are a couple of units for the cruises at this time.
Okay.
And they should probably be in the trunk and maybe
Yeah.
tested to see if they haven't taken a beating.
Yeah, don't they have to be like, they have to be recertified or something like that, or checked
No,
every so
they-
often?
The defib tech one has the light flashes. If it doesn't flash, you gotta replace a 9-volt battery.
Okay,
And once you replace it, it's gonna come on, say either your battery is good or it's not good.
okay,
Then you gotta replace the lithium battery inside.
okay.
Um,
Alright.
The Zoll, which is in the chief's vehicle,
Mhm.
my guess is probably dead. but it's got
Good
those
chance.
ridiculous 1, 2, 3 batteries, which is like 10 of them in there.
Okay,
And you
Yes.
replace them like every 2 years, so.
okay.
So what we were just talking about, Joe, was buying two, so you don't have one now, one needs to be replaced and you're
Okay.
in good shape.
That would be great. That would be great. I mean, I'll pull out the ones we got now too, and if you want to look them over, all that good stuff.
All right.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good timing on that. I know we do have some business with you that will probably be discussed in non-public.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem letting us process some of what we're,
Nope, not a bit. Do you want me to come back?
you can hang around, hopefully this won't take too long.
That's
Have your
okay.
coffee, enjoy the
I got my
show.
coffee, I forgot my popcorn, but that's all right.
Don't let, Deanna, on occasion, had supplied popcorn for us pre-COVID.
Oh,
She
really?
would make, yeah, people would come in and she's been known
That
to,
is funny.
yeah.
That's funny.
So, okay then, back to Audrey.
Okay, so we've already discussed, moving the meeting to the 17th. Thank you. Office computers. We had a quote from Lenhart and he reached out to me saying he had potentially another buyer. The police department needs 2 new computers. We would like to have consistency in the office. And so that would be 5 computers.
6,
The 5 of,
assessing,
oh, I didn't include
if
assessing.
we're gonna do them,
Um,
let's get the office done.
yeah, Deanna has a decent computer now. It could be moved back there.
Okay,
Okay, so since no
Okay,
one,
yeah.
no one's hardly out there, I wouldn't invest money. Some of the urgency is around, Microsoft Office being inconsistent. We waste a lot of time with Westy and Deanna have different versions. I think Chris and I have different versions. I open up things in Excel, the name of the file goes away, I'm in compatibility mode, and it's just super frustrating. So I'd like to look at moving on them sooner rather than later. And
so we could actually tell him we want 7 units, 2 and 5. Commit to those, so he's got those sold.
mhm,
So,
I'm not convinced yet on the software, the Office 365 versus the Microsoft 2019, and I've got a comparison of that coming. That ultimately, over a couple year period, is gonna be much more expensive, and it depends on,
the 365 is more expensive
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you need an annual license. You need to renew it. It's a membership, if you will, with Microsoft. The only advantage to it is it backs up our email. I've used it a little on Gwen's computer and it seems a little clunky to me. You need a double sign in. I just was very frustrated trying to get into her email as a result of Office 365. So I think I might be on the same page with you.
yeah, and I've got a good comparison coming on that,
Right.
so we'll know. And the other thing that I'm questioning on is the setup and labor charge for each one of these units is $300 a piece.
I did question him on that and he said he would prefer to give us worst case, because I asked him to do a single build and then basically clone them, image them to the other machines to save time. And I also think I can work with the staff to get almost everything off of their local drives and onto the network prior to him coming. So I think the only thing that he wouldn't be able to image from one machine to another would be the avatar software. And potentially he could even image that because I think it is on every machine here.
You should
And,
be able to do that.
and I think QuickBooks software is on the server already, so that, I don't see those as being big time sinks.
And when you and I were talking, we said you thought we had 2 fairly decent machines. So we could take one of those 2 and see how the zoning machine is relative to quality and age. And if
Mhm.
need be, we can swap the zoning computer out with one of the ones we don't throw out?
Well, there's probably a couple of things there, and that's what I want to focus on a little. If we had two computers that aren't too bad, one of them is potentially could be used for zoning officer or potentially for the general assistants, as well as one unit should be retained for the secretary, because that was a concern you had on what was taking place previously on the computer usage.
But we're talking about replacing both his computers out there.
You can't have the secretary, as has been past practice apparently, using one of the sergeants or the chief's computer.
They have a good computer, so these two would be an additional. There's 3 computers out there, 2 are bad, one's good. So they would retain the one that we currently put the new version of Office on.
Correct,
Okay,
Or someone,
right,
you would identify who,
correct.
and then they would have 2 new ones.
okay, because that's an update from our conversation previously. I didn't think there was a third computer in use. So I may.
No, there's, no,
They're not-
no,
we
no,
don't
no,
turn
there's
them
not,
on.
there's 2.
They're out
There's
there.
only 2 in use. If there's a third one,
You don't wanna
then
turn it on.
it's, I don't know, paperweight. I
Yeah,
don't know about the
exactly.
third one.
So one of those 2 computers is a reasonably functioning,
It's, from my understanding, it's still in good shape.
okay.
So
That's
only one needs to be replaced and I need to add. Does that make sense? So it's
Right.
2.
So you need 2 new ones because the one that's in place now that's still functioning decently will go to the secretary.
Correct.
Thank you.
That
Okay.
is correct.
There's a slight difference from our last conversation about a week ago, I think,
Okay.
in there. Oh, I misinterpreted. but-
I probably explained it wrong. I apologize.
It could have been on my end. Don't worry about it. So that's 7 computers, I believe, we're still talking about, and any retained computers that are still functioning to an appropriate level might be able to be used.
Audrey's already thought about the position, the ones we keep.
Okay.
And there is a computer in the fire station I know nothing about.
Neither do I.
Okay,
That was a recent purchase, and quite honestly, I'm not sure if that went so cheap that maybe it's a good computer or usable
Well, it
or
was
not.
refurbished.
Well, refurbished, the problem is when we moved it from the back to the office, we got the basically set up pretty good now. We can't get into our new email account, which was fire@effinghamnh.net.
Did Rick set it up? You're gonna actually add that email account on
It was supposed to be on there, according to Brian, it's all set up.
there. No,
And I told him I needed a pass, because when you put in that, you need a passcode.
I can help.
Okay,
no, there's a way to do that,
Schedule time with me.
but that one should be good for another few years without a problem.
Okay. So with that, the 7 computers, are we looking to purchase them from Winhart?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I had some homework. I talked to, my tech guy that's helped us out with
Yep.
that. He said this make and model of these PCs is extremely good. From a pricing standpoint, it's a very good price. And he said if you were looking at normal corporate replacement timelines of technology, these are a minimum of 5 years. And we just have a tendency in this town to keep computers longer than that, so they should hold us beyond that.
Okay, because my thoughts on this is since things have been allowed to go to the point they have on our computers, we do this purchase, one lump purchase, and I know that's not great from a replacement scheduling, but we're just there. So we get what we get, and as the attrition comes, we replace, and maybe there's an opportunity going forward to kind of do a couple here, a couple there, whatever it should be down the road. I just don't see we have a choice.
It's a good price. And when Audrey and I were talking about it, it's a multi-year schedule is the preferred way of doing it. But because we're in such bad shape
Okay.
and because this is such a good price, it does make sense to look at doing everything today.
Okay. I would say you have a green light to buy the computers that we need, so. And then you can Yankee barter with him all you need to. All right, so that's great.
Okay, and then on the assessing position, I do have one applicant. I'd like to expand it So I still don't have it on our website, but I think it might be good to post it on something like Indeed. I think that would be about a $60 cost. Put it out there. Okay. All right, and then, as far as schedules, I'm looking at taking next, Thursday and Friday off unless you guys have any concerns with that.
I don't know that we have anything scheduled Thursday or Friday that,
My intent is for Wednesday to have the 2020 report to the printers. So I'd like to have one of you flip through it first and,
yeah, I think with several eyes on that would be preferred to be through that. And then we need to work on a couple of warrant article adjustments. And I understand there's a new petition warrant article that's gonna be put on.
yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Dave, do the petition warrant articles go into the DRA site?
Yes,
Do,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it has to go into the 737 or not.
it's not a
I
monetary
think, I
one.
think it would not, so I'm not sure how they number it. Considering that's where the monetary numbers come from. We'd have to take a look at, I can work with you after this, I'll agree.
Okay,
We haven't set the warrant yet, so numbering is not really, I mean, whatever numbers they're using now aren't real.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we'll get the language down so that we can get those changes and the addition into.
yeah, I think Dave and I just did that, but we'll have you review it.
Okay, yeah, that was my plan today.
Okay, cool.
All right, well, what else?
Once the supervisors of the checklist verify the last petition warrant article, then, I'll give you all an overview of them. I think you're aware of the previous three. There was the, historic district to do away with that. There was the elderly exemption one. There was the, it was politically oriented for restructuring the number of like representatives. So that was a non-monetary one, political one.
Restructuring the members of what?
I think a lot of towns are doing it. I think it's related to, representation at the state level.
Oh, okay. Was that a warrant article to be added?
It's a petition warrant article. And then this last one is related about the purchasing policy. So I can email them all to you. I have them all scanned.
Okay, yeah, well, again, after the meeting, we'll work on that, and I haven't seen at least one of those.
Yeah, the last one.
And then there was, the elderly exemption had some language in it that I wanted to get, the actual petition language, not what's going on the warrant, which is a little more generalized, I think, there was some statements made on the sign-up sheet, that's what I'm looking for. Okay,
Yeah, that's all I have.
oh, all right. With that, I guess, Tom, you're probably up next.
Yeah. Well, I thought the firehouse was finished, but after hearing, we heard the swan, definitely not. It's really ticked me out because I called them back again on this too. And asked them about how it was gonna be because it wasn't in the contract, you know that? And I called him back. Yeah, well, the figures wasn't in how it was gonna be done. He just said, just for the labor, on materials, I'm sorry, for the materials. And that was a separate conversation with him. So I'm gonna call him this morning when we get out of here. I'm still in the frame of mind. And Chris, I'm gonna ask you, if his invoice comes in, just pull it up, do not pay it till you hear from us, if that's all right with you guys, until this is taken care of.
Sure, absolutely, yeah, I don't want to touch up.
But it'll get taken care of, really, the issues with it. The maintenance schedule and charts moving along. I need to get whatever you have on file here from past maintenance, maybe back 5 years. So I can put it in what was done, so that gives me a time frame of when it needs to be done again. I'll sit with you, Chris, up and down, and sit with you, and we can pull that together if you got time at some point. Boston Post cane time frame is passed. It was over this weekend, had about 7 replies. They were all from early if we didn't get any on this last push in January. So another thing I gotta get together with Chris, get some word for a plaque. How that's gonna read, or you guys, any input? Boston Post, yeah. And Audrey, you were gonna condense that a little for me? Appreciate that. And we all need to decide how it's gonna go forward at the town meeting presentation, what we're gonna do, what, you know, some person's picture and all that, and, but we can discuss that. Now we have more time.
Yeah, well, usually the presentation would happen at the first break. But yeah, any details of
Right.
anything you'd like to see, let us know.
Yeah. And, no, that's about it now.
All right. Chuck?
All right, I signed up for some online training for on the 11th for dealing with paving preservation. It'll be interesting to see what that is. I also signed up for another one for March 2 on managing cybersecurity in local government. So that one's set. I traded some emails with Patty Morrissey over at the school regarding the 6th grade students that are going to be moving up at the end of this year. There's 15 of them. We were talking a little bit around what the town has done in the past as far as a gift to the students and whatever. And when we traded information back and forth, they do a bag already with a lot of stuff in it. And I was thinking for expediency and being able to handle on our side, maybe we contribute something to the cost of putting those bags together. 15 bags is $300. So she said anything we could do, 25%, 50%, all of it would be appreciated if we can do something.
Okay, I guess I'll have to think about that. Not opposed to it, just as the RSA is going, spending money on certain things, just have to make sure that we have a position that's defensible if we decide to spend money.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all, just want to make sure that like we cover all
Right.
the bases, it's like we can do this and this is why.
Yeah, and I know Claudia used to do something in the past. I don't know the details behind it, but she did it, pulled it together. Chris might have been involved with it. And then it was taken over there, but this just sounded cleaner if we could work with them on that, from
Yeah.
that standpoint. The question I was gonna ask the lieutenant, about, because Mike asked it this morning, the consolidated communications, when we did the install, there was a partial install and Spectrum was still running because the sheriff's department needed to come over and upgrade the IP addresses
Okay.
so that we could cancel the Spectrum account. Do you know if that's happened?
I don't.
Okay. Because I know when I was talking to Ian, when he did the first time, the second time, they physically have to schedule an appointment to come over here and do it on our end.
The sheriff's department,
Sheriff's department, their IT guy.
right, which is John Rich. I'll find out for you.
If you can.
Yeah.
As soon as we can get that done and we get that verified that
Yeah.
you've got the connectivity you need, then we can cancel that Spectrum.
Yeah, yep. I'll
Bill
find
for
that
that.
out today. Yep,
Okay,
There should be an email I forwarded you with the IP addresses.
yes.
and the last question I have is, do we have on our agenda coming up when we're gonna talk about annual performance reviews for employees and
We typically do that in April, so anytime probably at the end of March is a good point to start having those discussions. Sure,
okay,
and yeah, maybe maybe at some point in March or in the end of February, we can get back to some of the other conversations we were having around personnel policies and all that good stuff.
okay, good, that's all I had.
All right, let's see. With that, I wanted to touch on the assessing clerk's item today anyway, so it's great. How are we advertising this? Is it on the NHMA site?
Correct.
Okay, and so we are gonna put it on our website, which may or may not attract too much. There's other other avenues we did in the past looking for positions such as yours. So I'm open to multiple um, electronic platforms, I guess we'd say, to advertise. So if that's helpful to you to kind of put it out there in multiple areas where you think you could get likely candidates, reach out. I'm all for it. And if there's some cost involved, we would expect that. So I would think that you probably don't need to come to us for every one unless it's really starting to add up some fees. But I would just defer to your discretion on how to proceed. It's kind of we'd like to fill this sooner than later position. So.
Yeah. And Avatar has their ear to the ground for us too.
Yeah, I reached out to Lauren Martin and asked if she had folks in the area that were working part-time with their software, if that would be, if she knew of anybody. So I guess she probably reached out and talked to you a little or some such.
I've only spoken with Jonathan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. The grant, we already kind of covered the chasing the defibrillators because I've got my scratch notes checklist from talking to Heather Malone the other day. Chase that down. I talked to Bonnie over at NRRA to try and get a more a summary here. Part of their problem in communications was their telephone is their fax line is their telephone line. They didn't know that, and I think they put in a new printer and oops. So I think she was happy to hear some input there. I did question one of the glass halls because it was traditionally low, considered with, we're probably running somewhere in the 6-ton area. And when I saw a haul for 1.39 tons, I so I probably have to follow up with Mark on what happened there because that's just wrong. So, and then there was a billing item here that troubled me. And I guess she originally thought I was kind of confused on how to read the invoice, and I assured her that's not what's taking place. Move the town off net invoicing, which is to say if we had a revenue stream, it would offset the cost, and that would be, you'd get the results of those two transactions. We are now showing all cost only on these, and revenues will come in through to the town office in the form of a check and won't show up in our budgets versus actual. So it's a lot more to the point of accuracy for the budget committee and for ourselves. So with that, when they moved us away, we don't see what we get for scrap metal on this invoice. We see the hauling fee. So we don't see the revenue portion here.
And that doesn't come with a printout with a check.
Well, this comes.
No, with the check you mentioned coming in a separate check.
Right, that would have its source. I would assume that it would have a revenue, what commodity that's for. What we aren't seeing here though is now the price, and the commodity price has been going up. It was at a low of 40 and it's bouncing around 90 or $100 depending, but it's like 80, 90. And at one point it hit 100. What I saw is under the price, it went to $10, which it's not $10, but that $10 appears to be added to the hauling charge. So it gave us a false number. So they're working on that, and I'll get that final number so I can submit just that year's report along with Waste Management's number for our facilities report, because the Department of Environmental Services has totally revamped the reporting down at the transfer station, making my life a little more complicated. So when I get these in, I'll get that thing finished. I'll be emailing them. I've been in contact. So if Chris, you or Audrey get any communications from DES about facilities report, I'm on it and I get it taken care of, just so you know. With that, Chuck left the room. I did have a question on our broadband initiative. We did sign something related today, but that's not where we're going. with that one. The USDA, I did have a confirmation letter. I don't know if this came into the office or not. And it's for the $250,000 of grants, since it had to recycle through this calendar year. It was a money mix-up, federal government. But it has all the forms that we have been approved for that. Did you get anything?
I don't recall seeing that, so if I could scan it, that would be great.
Okay, and I'm sure I could,
Related to that, I received inquiries from the Conway newspaper. And so I imagine, could have been as early as yesterday or the next day or two, there's going to be an article about the award.
okay. If you get inquiries from the media, we probably want to discuss how we want to answer some of those. Joe could probably attest some of the interactions with towns and departments with some local media is tricky and has been problematic in the past. So we would probably want to take some time to form a response. Or unless maybe one of the selectmen, like Mr. Fuller was doing the town hall thing, he said, hey, I'm going and dealing with this and there's gonna be a big media coverage. And we said, yeah, go forth and tell your story, you know? We threw that to him. The town moderator apparently was approached. I don't know how many people were approached, but the Heather Malone at USDA was approached by the reporter in question. So everybody pointed to me because apparently, you know, this is the project that I'm running. So I did eventually get contacted by Damon Steer, Conway Sun-Times, and yesterday I was able to find the time to kind of give him the background on that, to give him some fluff information for the article. So yeah, got that one, and yeah, there should be something coming out. I also double checked with the USDA to make sure they were okay and comfortable with having their organization in that article, as well as Hanson Bridge. I contacted Mike Hanson before talking to the reporter to make sure he didn't have a problem with, you know, his company's name being put in. But yeah, it's always a fine line dealing with the media. So anyway, Damon's.
It's gonna be like a 3-page article.
I have no idea. I just sent him about 400 pages of stuff. What he does with it, I don't know. And speaking of Mr. Hanson, at Hanson Bridge, he's sent some information to HEB for our engineer to review. And I'm still trying to nail him down on a meeting. At this point, he's sending some more information forward, the final pieces of the puzzle. And that's going to be mostly around the pilings. And he thinks that we probably won't actually need a meeting for the to get everything signed up, contracts, everything in motion. He thinks it'll be handled with just Chris Fournier and whatever Chris recommends to us. It's the pilings that could be a money item. So as I believe I discussed before, there's probably a point that we have to say this is the cutoff, because the equipment you have, it's limited to what we're going to get done, just like how far we keep going depth-wise. But I imagine that we'll probably end up with some kind of communication from Chris Fournier to explain the nuances that is involved in this process, and his recommendation to say what's acceptable. If we keep going and we get to a certain depth, it's like there's no point going any further, something like that. That seems to be the last thing Mr. Hanson feels that needs to be handled, and we should be good to go and starting the prefab process. Several things have added to that process being pushed back. Obviously, we thought we'd already be having the prefab done. Money issues that the government was handling, money was one of them. So now it's down to this piece, and once we solve this, we can start having the bridge constructed. That will undoubtedly push our, construction date out, because we're just behind with all this. So next item was that we have had an ongoing discussion at the Capital Improvements Committee, and it's about the GATSB compliance, the Governmental Standards Board. It is a very nuanced niche kind of thing. Not a lot of people are doing this work anymore. I had a list of 10 companies supplied by NHMA. And one of the companies we can't use because we use them for auditing. So that brought us down to 9. 4 of those companies no longer do this type of work. And one of those companies is fairly busy, can do it, but gave a referral. And which case we've got Greg Colby, who reached out to Tim Green, our auditor, to discuss all of what it would take, where we are with the process to get a heads up. They know each other. Greg has been around a long time, apparently, in the business. And I couldn't sit down with him and get kind of a price point here because it's an unknown. So what I did was I invited him here to kind of see what we have for records and build off that, in which case he will probably have a greater understanding of what needs to be undertaken, and then he can present us with a price going forward. Another thing with Greg is he probably has the skills to be able to take on maybe a few other issues that I know Audrey's encountered. One of the things I saw was our balance sheet is a thing that was a hiccup in filing with the USDA. If that could be corrected, possibly some liability recordings, different things. So when Greg shows up, we'll get some more information on what he can do for us. That so far has been some troubling issues that we can't resolve ourselves.
And that supports the audit letter where that deficiency was cited as a continuing deficiency.
Yes.
I found it interesting this year versus the previous year. There was more detail to what they were looking for. And it was more like a spreadsheet with depreciation and everything else.
Yeah.
That is kind of way beyond what we thought we were just having to do by creating a book with the different items in it.
Yes.
So it's obvious we need to do more work to be able to put ourselves in a position with that standardized government accounting.
And that's why I figured having him come in and see what we're collecting so that we can probably do our portion of this, getting him what he needs for data. And what I'm led to believe by other companies is this is really complicated work. And there's some liability issues that some people, they've walked away from the government work. So that if Greg can come in and work with us and it's something we can financially do, I'd be pretty much in favor of trying to get this resolved because it keeps showing up in our audits and we've lost track of how to report it and maybe what we should be doing. And, maybe this is a thing we can get ahead of for once.
And it's not something new. Because
No.
if I remember correctly, it's been cited every year since, I think 2017 was the last one I read. And it was in there in that report.
It was in 16, and like I said, I hadn't seen from Robertson Green the first 2 reports they did for us, 14, 15, but I have those records coming. And I would be surprised to see that it did get some mention, although in 2014, I think that's when this work was undertaken originally, and that company, those folks are no longer around apparently. So, there was an attempt made, and it fell off the radar, and we're gonna try and bring it back.
You're giving Mr. Foley my contact information.
I have got to do that. I didn't get to that yesterday. Thank you for the reminder. And I will give you his so that if I fail on any level, you'll have his information. All right. So Chuck, I was going to ask you about the broadband thing. Wasn't there something that you were looking for us to sign a few weeks ago? That one's already done.
Yeah,
Oh, that was this.
that was it.
That was
So
my
what it is,
confusion.
it's a cover letter
Yeah,
that we need to basically sign. It basically is sent to Spectrum to request the information. And it describes the data sets. It references the RSA that they have to respond around. And that's what we signed today.
my confusion was not recognizing what you had brought in before was actually that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. What those go hand in hand. Then Audrey has been working on getting our videos uploaded so that the world can see us at our finest doing the work. Has that actually made it out to the public yet? at least still in process, there's still. a
I
few.
was given recommendations from Chris that I need to put on some meta tags, because when I search for them, I can't find them if I look up on YouTube Effingham or Effingham Selectmen. So I guess I need to learn to do meta tagging now, so. I don't
She has an in-house expert that's good at that.
Yeah, so that's the next step. Maybe I'll just give her that
More.
assignment. I'll delegate something else. I was trying not to say that out loud until she's already through a major project she's working on.
Yeah, that'd be great, because, obviously, we started this probably maybe early April or something last year, so I thought this journey wasn't gonna be this long, but it's been fraught
Three of the
with.
meetings are up there, and as you can see, I'm testing that screen differently today, so
Yes.
I believe this is what you will see on today's. So I'll put that up this afternoon and
Right.
send you guys a link to look at it.
Yeah, because getting this stuff that we cover out to the public is really huge. Yeah, messaging so that folks understand we're doing something actually, and what those things are, because it's impactful in the town. So that would be just huge. Thank you.
I'll send a link to Teresa too.
All righty. With that, let's see. I think I have covered everything that I had. The election date's in there. Things have already been taken, the nominations have been put on hold. We did that before. So Randy's been covered. I think we're at a point that we might be looking to go into non-public, unless I've missed anything or somebody has something else to bring up.
I'll say one thing,
Sure, Randy.
President Biden has okayed COVID expenses 100% reimbursement all the way back to January of last year. So I don't know if he's still having any more COVID expenses. Not to get Audrey more work.
Oh, you just did.
But
Well, she was getting almost bored, so
Well, I can fix that.
is
They're already
is that a red phrase, or is it a reflection from that dress? Because it's,
So, even though we've been reimbursed like 75%, we can reapply and get the other 25 for last year. But everything from, I believe it's when you took office to is 100%.
okay.
We haven't applied for it at all.
Wow, that is, there's a lot there. Hi, Chris.
I'm gonna contact somebody from the state to find out how we get reimbursed for the fire department man hours, because we always were reimbursed before, like with these hurricanes and stuff. When we put in, we always got reimbursed. There was some way of doing it. This last time, we didn't get anything. They cut us right out. I believe it was filed incorrectly or under some wrong category. Well, we didn't, so I'm gonna talk to somebody from the state, find out. Because we're still going out doing welfare checks.
Yeah, I saw that in the report.
So, I mean, that's all COVID related, because if COVID hadn't come, we wouldn't be doing this stuff, so. It's something I think we should be reimbursed for.
You've got the time and energy to chase it, then please do.
Well, I don't know about the energy.
Somebody was gonna offer me a Reese's candy so that we can give you a sugar boost.
My
Put
sugar
that
very low.
defibrillator.
Yeah, and then hit him with the paddles. There you go. Good as new.
Right for those AEDs.
Hey, maybe this would be a good training experience for us in the building, and we have somebody to test it on. What's the instructions say do next?
It'll say, no shock advised, continue CPR.
You hope it does, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. The shock feature is really what I'm here for,
So
so.
it's gotta be an override.
That's the problem, you can't, there's no override on that. But those EKG ones, there might be an override. Because a paramedic can override, like I said, there's a certain rhythm there.
Yeah.
That a paramedic can shock them to get them out of that rhythm and get back into normal sinus rhythm.
Waiting for your list.
I gave it to you.
No, you have to give me the whole list to put in,
Oh,
with all the,
well, you order an AED, it comes with everything.
well, so, yeah, I'm figuring but there's probably some other, what is it, leads and or
Inventory to have
ads,
in the.
right, the inventory that go
In the
with it.
shop. There's got a few backups, just in case, you know, I don't know if you get one backup for each element you need, or.
Yeah, you get just one package per unit, and that's good, that's fine, I mean,
Right now, we just keep one set of pads in there till they expire, because
right,
I don't see having any on hand, because they're gonna expire before you use them,
okay,
so it's just a waste of money.
Okay.
perfect, then I have my. then I
If
have
you use them, I
list.
order them, we'll get them in within a week or so,
Okay.
no big deal.
So then the question is, you're going to look at the state bid listings and then update me and then.
To see what units are on there, because like I said, they do have the Zoll model, let's see if those are on
All right, if there's a better price there, we can look
there. I
at
know
that.
the EKG won't be on there, but the basic one might be.
Is it, in a sense, we can apply for what we're applying for, there's these numbers, and if you find a better deal, we can adjust, so that's not probably the worst. We'll go with what we got maybe here. All right. Anything else? No, okay, then we're going to enter into another non-public with Lieutenant Duchesne to cover some issues, employment related to, I'm gonna pull it out just to be sure here, but I believe it'll be section A. Yes. So we're gonna enter into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, Roman 2, subparagraph A, on an employee issue. With that, I will make a motion to enter non-public. Do I have a second? Ooh, you gotta be quick.
No, yeah, I wasn't paying
Jeopardy.
attention, it's like usually there's an eye thing here, and I missed it.
What I see with it?
It's the first one you'll find on your sheet, A. And with that, all in favor?
All right.
Cal and I, and
Okay, I'm